Hi ladies, welcome back to Designer Life Fridays. This is Mignonette and I just want to share some encouraging words with you to take you into your weekend, girl. So let's start out with a question today. I actually have two questions for you. My first question is, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Today's question is inspired by something that I read in the book of Nehemiah. I love Nehemiah's story. In Nehemiah chapter 2, we see that Nehemiah has just come out of, fasting and prayer for God to give him a plan for his people back home in Jerusalem. He's learned that, back home that things are not going well. The city walls are broken down. Things need to be rebuilt. There's no one that's really taking up the responsibility to spearhead this task. So Nehemiah, who is many miles removed from this situation, his heart is just so stirred that he prays for God to give him a plan. And God does, in fact, give Nehemiah a plan. And Nehemiah goes to his boss, who happens to be the king of Babylon, no pressure there, right? And asks him for permission to go back home and check on things. Now, the reason that I asked you the question, who are you talking to, is because Nehemiah had such wisdom. Very early on in this venture, he understood how valuable it was to stay quiet. He understood the value of being discreet. He didn't go around spreading the news to everyone. Hey, guess what? I'm going back to Jerusalem. Who wants to go with me? He didn't send out a petition for everyone to sign so he would know who was on board with him. He did not broadcast this. He stayed very quiet. And in Nehemiah chapter 2, in verse 11, it says, "So I arrived in Jerusalem 3 days later." And verse 12 says, "I slipped out during the night, taking only a few others with me. I had not told anyone about the plans God had put in my heart for Jerusalem. We took no pack animals with us except the donkey I was riding." So Nehemiah was traveling very light in every sense of the word. He didn't take a lot of people with him. He didn't take a lot of things with him. He understood that there was more in quality than there was in quantity. He understood that it didn't matter whether everyone was with him or not, that as long as he had a few good men, a few good people who were on his side, that was really what mattered. Now, I know how it is to have something from God and get very excited about it and want the world to share in your excitement. But sister, can I tell you the truth today? Not everyone is going to rejoice with you about what God is doing in your life. You might say, but I'm so excited about this. And, I just want other people to be happy for me. And I'm such a nice person and I'm happy for others when good things happen to them. So why wouldn't people be happy for me? People got issues. Okay. Everyone's not going to be happy about what God is doing in your life. And you know what? It's sad but true. And it's really an opportunity for us to pray with others so that whatever it is that's happening on the inside of them that's keeping them from being able to return, that same joy to you now when it's your turn to be excited about something, that God will help them to heal. But in the meantime, you have to watch who you are talking to. You have to be discreet. You have to be selective about who you share the plans that God has given you with. And Nehemiah, it goes on to say in verse 16, it says, "The city officials did not know that I had been out there or what I was doing, for I had not yet said anything to anyone about my plans. I had not yet spoken to the Jewish leaders, the priests, the nobles, the officials, or anyone else in the administration." Nehemiah understood that some people may be rubbed the wrong way, because who did he think he was anyway, coming all the way from Babylon, and now he's going to be the one that rebuilds the city. There were very high-ranking leaders already in Jerusalem, and they may have felt like, hey, you're stealing our thunder. You're raining on our parade. You're taking the attention away from us. We should be the ones who are building it. We should be the ones that get the credit for it. So Nehemiah understood that the assignment that God had given to him was not about who got the credit. And it wasn't about him being the man. It was just about him being obedient to God. And that included being selective about who he shared these plans with. Now, this doesn't mean that Nehemiah had to sit on this excitement forever. But in the very, very beginning, it was important for him to remain quiet about it. Now, God had a plan to get everyone involved. God had a plan that everyone who wanted to participate would be a part, would have a part in rebuilding the gates and rebuilding the walls. It was a community effort. It was a beautiful venture. And, you know, it's so unique, this story, because at the end of it, it's not that the gates were so pretty. It's not that the project was just, you know, so masterfully designed. It wasn't, you know, when it was first designed, there were master craftsmen, and it was done, you know, with skilled hands. And this second time around that Nehemiah spearheaded it, it was just done by everyday people. It was a whosoever will effort. Everyone got to put their hands on it, and it was far from perfect. But the way that it drew everyone together is what blesses me so much about reading this account. There will be a time that everyone can come together and rejoice with you about the plan God has given you. But in the meantime, sis, you have to be selective. You have to be thoughtful about who you are talking to. Now, my next question for you is, what are you doing to prepare? What are you doing to prepare now for the thing that God has shown you? How are you preparing yourself? Are you just kind of sitting back and waiting for it to happen whenever it happens? Or are you doing something to get yourself in motion so that you can be ready to meet that moment? Are you doing something so that you can be prepared for that moment when God brings you right into due season with that opportunity? There is going to be opposition, and there is going to be resistance. But the more that we can prepare, the more that we can be selective about our inner circle, about who we share our plans with, the more that we can limit, you know, running to social media and just broadcasting every little thing that, you know, God says he's going to do in our lives, the more that we can protect and preserve that special moment before it's made public, before everyone gets to see it. Because if the enemy knows that he can't stop something from coming to pass, if he knows that he can't, you know, undo the plans of God, then he will do whatever he can to just make the moment not special. He's such a sucker. So we don't want to give him any opportunity to do that in our lives. We are going to be watchful about who we're talking to, and we are going to prepare ourselves for that moment that God is bringing us to. I really hope this encourages you as you continue to walk by faith and not by sight.